Hi friends, it's Courtney. Welcome back to the Biblio Style. Hi friends, it's Courtney. Welcome back to the Biblio Style. This is the place where my eclectic reading taste kind of mixes it up with my eclectic sense of style. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, thanks for hanging out with me again. So today, since I've done a little bit of a change with my channel, I thought it would be a really great time to do the Booktube Newbie Tag. Now, I'm not sure where this tag originated. If I can find the channel that started it, I will link it down below. This, I think, maybe like the Newbie Tag 2.0. I'm not sure, but it has been going around a little bit. If you see me looking down, I have notes in my planner, so that's what I'm referring to. So, question number one is, why did you start your channel? If you've been around for a while, you know initially this started as a planner channel where I shared my love of planners and pins and stickers and journaling and paper and all of that good stuff. I originally started it not too long after my youngest son was born, and I was going through a bit of an identity crisis, I guess you could say. I had him when I was 40 years old, and at the time that he was born, I had I had children who were, I think my youngest at the time that Rowan was born was 17, and my oldest was like 23 or 24. So I mean, I hadn't been like a mom to a newborn in a really long time, and even though I had raised kids before, it was a shock to my system, I'm not gonna lie, and it kind of made me question, you know, who I was and what I was doing, and really things that I had enjoyed in the past, I didn't really have the time for, or I didn't really have the interest in them anymore. It was a really difficult pregnancy, very difficult and traumatic delivery, and I had some issues postpartum relating to that were a struggle for me. And when I discovered the planner community, it was almost like a light bulb went off. I had been a scrapbooker before, and sort of, so it, you know, I guess fed into some of the other hobbies I had had in the past, and I just decided one day to go for it, and yeah, here we are. Question number two is, what fun and unique things do you bring to YouTube? I guess to Booktube maybe. I don't know if it's fun as so much unique. I don't know if I'm that fun of a person. But I am a little bit older than most booktubers that I have discovered. I am 46. I'll be 47 in August. I also don't buy books a great deal. I mean, I'm an avid reader, and I had, from the time that I was very young, I bought books all the time. And I know when my husband and I first started dating, and we bought a house and moved in together, and we hadn't lived together before then, and I remember him like hauling in all these books, all these boxes off the truck, and him being like, my God, what is in these? Like, why is this box so heavy? Why do you have so much stuff? And a lot of it was books. But after I had my son, in an effort to find like a community of mothers, and sort of, you know, all of my friends, we had all had children in our early, you know, late teens, early 20s, so they were all at a completely different stage in their life than I was, and I was starting over. And so one of the first things I did was sign my baby and I up for a reading group, like for babies. I forget what it was called. I can't remember what it was called. I want to say it was called like Books and Babies or something, but and it met once a week. And so when we started going to that every week, I decided to get a library card because I knew that books were really important to me. As a matter of fact, my baby shower for my son was book themed, and we included little book plates in all of the invitations, and asked people to bring books instead of cards. So I knew from the time that I found out that we were going to have another baby that I wanted him to be a reader. So when we signed up for the baby program at our library, I went ahead and got a library card, which I hadn't used in a really long time. And ever since then, I have not really purchased books. We go to the library every week, sometimes more than once when it's really cold and it's the only thing we can do. When it's really hot and it's the only thing we can do. So it's been a huge resource for us, and that's where I get most of the stuff that I read. I think another unique thing is that I don't really read a lot of fantasy or YA, which seems to be have a really impressive number of channels who are very, very into that. And that's not really, I have started reading more of it just in an effort to sort of broaden my own horizons, but it's not really something that I was interested in as a kid, even though, I mean, I know I read like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I can't remember if we read like Lord of the Rings. Wasn't that a book? I don't know. I don't do sci-fi, so I don't even know. So I think those are the things that about me that are maybe a little bit like not typical for YouTube. The third question, what am I most excited about what am I most excited about, I guess, for this channel? So, I mean, I guess I'm excited to be able to talk about books more. I don't have very many people in my real life that I can really discuss them with very much. I know one of my sisters-in-law, she is a big reader, and we sometimes get to chat about it. My mother-in-law likes to read. I used to always talk about books with my mom. She passed away in January. So, I mean, I miss that because she would always say, "Oh, Ray, what have you read lately? What's good?" So we would chat about that. So, I mean, I guess I'm just most excited about being able to engage with an audience who loves books as much as I do. Number 4, why do I love reading? I love reading because it makes me feel, I think, more connected. I started reading young, and like the family I have created, my own family was much of the same in that my older siblings are are 20 years older than me too. So I basically grew up with as an only child. My my mom worked outside of the house. Both of my parents worked. And so I spent a lot of time either hanging out in the office with my mom and dad. We had a family business, so they worked in the same office, or, reading while running errands with my mom. My mom loved to like shop and go thrifting. And as a little girl, these were not my favorite hobbies. And so I would always have a book with me to kind of pull out and read. And so I think in a lot of ways, reading is what kept me company, and kept me from feeling lonely. I was, a fairly kind of typical kid. I think I was probably on the introverted side and a little bit shy. And so books were my friends, in a way. But yeah, so let's see. Number 5, what series got you into reading? I don't know. It wasn't necessary. Well, it was part of a series, but I started reading pretty young. Um, I don't ever remember not being able to read, but also my memory is kind of shit. So, I mean, the earliest memories I have are maybe like kindergarten, first grade, and I remember reading books then. So, I mean, I'm not sure how old I was when I learned how to read, but I do know that I loved Beverly Cleary books, and Ramona Quimby was like a huge deal for me. And so, like I said, my mom, like if she had things that she wanted to do on Saturdays and I would have to go along with her because, you know, I couldn't stay at home by myself, we would always stop by the bookstore before we had to do whatever it was she wanted to do. And so we would go to the bookstore and I would get to pick out 2 or 3 books that would last me, you know, maybe 2 weeks. And I loved all the Beverly Cleary books. So that was sort of what, as like a young reader, what got me into reading. And then I want to say like I started reading, I know I grew up in the 80s. So, and I know like the 90s is like the Babysitters Club was like the sort of big series for young girls. And for me, it was Sweet Valley High. I don't remember how old I was when I started reading those books, maybe in like the 3rd or 4th grade. And yeah, I just went through, I probably read 3 of them a week, maybe. And those were like my absolute favorite. So, questions for favorite booktubers. So I guess if I could ask my favorite booktubers a question, it would be, how do you keep yourself from feeling overwhelmed by like all the new releases that are constantly coming out? And how do you deal, like there's a book that just came out that everyone's reading and I have FOMO so bad. I'm currently like 6th on the wait list at the library to get it. And what usually for me, like if I will check a book out from the library and if I like it, then I'll think about buying it. But I'm thinking about buying this right now because everyone's reading it and everyone's talking about it, and I kind of like miss not being able to like get in on that conversation. So yeah, like how do you keep yourself from becoming overwhelmed with all of the things that are coming out and all of the things that you want to read? Because they're really, I mean, we all have other things that we have to do in our lives. We can't just read all the time, which would be kind of amazing. So number 7, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be hardest to overcome? For me, the biggest challenge in doing YouTube in general, and I don't think it's going to be any different with booktube, is consistency. I don't have a ton of free time to film and do all the things that I want to do. We are still I mean, our state is slowly opening up. My husband and I have decided that we're pretty much going to just kind of keep it close to home for now. My husband is working remotely and he will probably be working from home until the end of the year. And then we have a 6-year-old who currently is, you know, on summer vacation, and we have yet to decide. Our district just kind of released what their plan is for fall for school. He was going to be going into kindergarten, and so now we are kind of figuring out what school is going to look like for him and what that means for me in terms of my time commitment. So just being consistent and finding times to film. I don't have, you know, I used to be able to film a lot when he was at school and my husband was at work, and that has changed. And so our house is not always quiet and there's not always, you know, a place for me to be. We are working on getting like my office space kind of mom room set up this weekend. So hopefully that will be set up next week and it will make things a little bit easier for me to do in terms of filming and, you know, working on editing and all of that good stuff. So When did you start reading? I think I just talked about this. I believe I started reading in kindergarten. I can't really remember. That's what my parents and my siblings have told me. I'm sorry, my foot's falling asleep. But so yeah, I think I was probably around 5 when I started reading and have been like reading ever since. Where do I read? I mostly read on the couch, either here in our living room or in our family room. Sometimes if it is a nice enough day, we will go outside in the backyard and I will read outside. I don't read in bed a lot just because my husband usually goes to bed first, and so he's already asleep with the lights out when I'm getting like, you know, winding down. But I will occasionally listen. That is what has changed in the last year, is that I'm starting to listen to audiobooks more. So I will listen to audiobooks when I am going to bed. I guess that counts as reading. And number 10, what do I like to read? So I mostly read like mysteries and thrillers. I read some historical fiction, some literary fiction, and recently, like in a plot twist that I never saw coming, I have started reading romance, which, I mean, I had read, I think in the 90s, they called it like chick lit. I, you know, read some of those books around that. So yeah, for the first time in June, romance was what I read most. I think I read 5 or 6 romance novels, which is more romance than I've read my entire life. It also happened to be what I read the most of in June, which was fun. It was a pleasant, I think, diversion and maybe what my spirit needed. June was a very, very heavy month for a lot of us. So yeah, I enjoyed it. So anyway, that is it for the Booktube Newbie Tag. I hope that you enjoyed hearing me ramble on for a bit. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos from me, then click the subscribe button down below. I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.